Please be seated.
Hey, Jaynie, doing okay? Okay. Let's move this just a little bit closer to your voice.
Do you want me to yell?
No, I don't.
I can yell. Doesn't matter.
All right. So you have, I guess the way to put it, has been a pretty good sport about being involved in this. You have made a couple of statements to the police department, and you've spoken with me and my colleagues, and you've spoken with the DA's office. So I think everybody appreciates that. The first time you gave an interview was July the 9th of 2014. Is that right? Okay. And do you remember that day you spoke with Detective Murphy?
Yes.
Okay. And that was a phone interview?
Yes.
Right. Okay. Then the next time you spoke to somebody was in person, and Detective Murphy came down to Madison, to the police department down there, and y'all had a chance to talk in person, right?
Yes.
All right. And that would have been July the 17th, 2014.
Yes.
Not to hold you to a specific date, but does that sound about right?
Yes.
All right, so that would have been roughly a couple of weeks later.
Yes.
All right. And do you remember who else was at that particular interview at the Madison Police Department?
No one.
It was just you and Detective Stoddard? Excuse me, you and Detective Murphy?
Yes.
Okay. All right, and then you met with me and my investigator probably a year after that? That'd be fair to say?
Yes.
In Eatonton?
Yes.
Okay. And of course, you've had a chance to meet with the prosecutors as well?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so I want the first thing that I want to talk about is a statement that Mr. Boring kind of went over real quickly. And what he said was, did Ross tell you if it wasn't for Cooper, he would leave Leanna?
Yes.
Okay. Have you had a chance to actually listen to what you told the detective, though?
Yes.
All right. And you would agree that's not exactly what you said, is it?
It's basically what I said.
Okay. Well, you agree that what Ross indicated to you is that he would leave Leanna, but he had Cooper,
Yes.
and that he loved that baby more than anything.
Yes.
And what was expressed to you, what Ross Harris expressed to you was that he wouldn't do that to his little boy. He wouldn't do that to Cooper.
Yes.
He wouldn't end his marriage because he loved that little boy that much.
Yes.
And I mean, it's fair to say that is in the entirety of the time that you and Ross were friends. Now, let me clear that up. Y'all were very good friends, right?
Yes.
In fact, you referred to him regularly as your best friend.
Yes.
Okay, and that's kind of how it felt.
Yes.
Okay, because y'all chatted regularly, not every day necessarily, but regularly, right?
It was every day.
Okay, and you talked on the phone a lot.
Yes.
Okay, and you talked about a lot of personal things.
Yes.
Talked about family,
Yes.
and you had a lot of things going on in your life as well
Yes.
that were difficult for you.
Yes.
Okay, you have a medical condition that was a topic of discussion for y'all, right? Okay, and you've expressed that Ross was supportive
Yes.
He offered encouragement at a time when you needed it. Is that fair to say? Okay. And not to embarrass you or anything, but there were some emotional, you had a period where you had some emotional problems as well. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. And you have expressed that Ross was kind of a best friend through some of those times as well. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Okay. Are you upset with me? No? You talked about the fact that Ross indicated that they had he and his wife argued about things,
Yes.
and that was a topic that y'all talked about on occasion as well, correct?
Yes.
All right. And you recall that you've indicated that it was just kind of life stuff, just kind of
Yes.
family stuff, like couples argue about, right?
Yes.
And I believe you said that Ross would send you pictures of Cooper,
Yes.
send you pictures of he and Cooper doing things together,
Yes.
like vacation.
Once.
Okay. Do you remember where that was from?
They were at the beach.
Beach? All right. And did you get a picture where they were at the Braves game?
Yes.
Okay. Would these come to you by way of text messages?
Yes.
That's how you'll get photographs?
Most of the time.
Would you sometimes send email attachments or something?
Not so much, no.
Okay. Primarily, if you got a photo of Cooper, it was through a text.
Yes.
All right. And Ross had conveyed to you that his wife had, if not caught him cheating, certainly suspected it. Is that fair to say?
She did catch him.
She did catch him. Is that something that he talked to you about?
Yes.
And did he tell you don't send anything else on Facebook because I don't want her to see it?
I never sent anything on Facebook.
Okay. Did he tell you that he was going to have to sort of change his ways a little bit because his wife was upset with him?
Not that I remember.
Don't remember? Okay. You were specifically asked if Ross had ever suggested to you in any way that Cooper was holding him back. And he never did that, did he?
Not that I can recall.
Okay. And you were specifically asked, what did Ross ever ask you or talk about what his life would be without Cooper?
Your Honor, I'm just going to object just to ask him to clarify, asked by who, because we talked about a lot of different conversations.
Okay. That's fair. Detective Murphy specifically asked you that, didn't he?
Can you repeat the question?
Yes. You were asked by Detective Murphy if Ross had ever said anything to you about what his life would be like without Cooper.
Not that I can remember now.
Okay, you don't remember that. Well, then I'll ask you directly. Ross never said anything like that to you, did he?
I meant that to my answer. Sorry. I didn't understand the question, but yes, that
Oh,
was
okay.
my answer.
Yeah, I got you. You don't ever recall Ross saying anything like that?
No.
Now, I want to, we've got a lot of chats. Did you have a chance to look through all this?
Yes.
You did? Okay. And, I mean, it's fair to say a lot of it is kind of sort of mundane chit chat, really.
Yes.
Right. And of course, and there's a lot of discussion about your boyfriend.
Yes.
Right. So Mr. Boring asked you a few things about time period that I want to go back to, which is the end of May or June 2014. And if yours is paginated the same as mine, Jaynie, I think it would be around 44 is what I want to start taking a look at.
What day is it?
Yeah, so it would be, let's start at May the 28th.
Okay.
All right, so if you look at the bottom, let's just make sure you and I are on the same page, because I can't copy everything.
Yes.
All right, so let's start up a couple of lines up from there. At 9:25 in the morning, you see where you say, "Call me when you see this."
Yes.
Would it be okay with you if we just kind of read that together? You'll read where it says Jaynie May, darling, and I'll read where it says Bama XH. Would that be okay?
Okay.
All right, so start with "Call me when you see this."
Call me when you see this. Hey.
All right, and then at 9:26, Ross says, "What's wrong?" And you respond.
A lot, but you never called, so.
All right, and then we're still on May the 28th, at 10:13, Ross says, "Honey, you drop me and don't talk to me for weeks at a time." And he says then, "I can't drop everything at work and call you." Then if we'll go on to the next page. Up at the top, your response is what?
You used to.
You used to. And then he says, "Well, Jaynie, you gave up on me without explanation, so I moved on." Get hurt. And then at 10:24, which is your response?
You moved on. What does that even mean? What now? You're done with me?
Okay. And at 10:24, his response is, "No, I'm not done with you, but I accepted that you didn't want to talk to me." And your response is?
Okay, I'll just go. Sorry I even bothered.
And then his response is, "Jaynie, don't do that. You just disappeared and wouldn't respond to my texts." And you say?
Sorry.
And then if you look at, that would be now 11:02. This is maybe 28. Ross says, "Did y'all have a fight?" And how do you respond to that?
Not exactly.
Keep reading.
We're just so different.
Keep reading.
Don't feel like me anymore.
Keep reading.
I want to be loved on every chance I get. I want to feel wanted, and he doesn't do that.
Keep reading.
I keep a lot of things to myself, and I've never held my tongue until now. I'm always so afraid to make him mad or something. Something of that matter that I hardly ever talk like I want.
It's now 12:19, same day. Keep reading.
We just got a puppy, but he's so hypocritical about it. One minute it's ours, the next it's mine because I wanted it, then it's his.
Because?
It's his house.
All right. And 12:25.
I just never feel good ever. Feel good enough ever.
All right. And then you say?
But now that we do have the puppy, I feel like I'm stuck.
All right. And so just to make real clear, because I think you may have gone over part of this previously, starting back up in the middle of the page. When Ross says, at 11:02, "Did y'all have a fight?" And then you go through that discussion. You're talking about your boyfriend at that time, right?
Yes.
And you're conveying to him, and this is almost 3 weeks before Cooper died, you're conveying to him that you're not feeling good about yourself at that time. You and your boyfriend are not communicating, and now y'all got this puppy. Is that sort of the gist of what y'all are talking about here? Or what you're
Yes.
conveying to him? Is that fair?
Yes.
And so then he says, at 12:26, he says, "You're never stuck, honey. You can always leave at any time." All right, and then at 12:28, how do you respond?
No, I fought so hard for the puppy. If I left, I'm scared he would kill it or something.
Can you say?
Please just call soon.
All right, please just call soon. So you, Ross had suggested things maybe aren't quite as bad as you think they are. You're not stuck. You can always leave, and then you convey that you're worried that your boyfriend might kill the puppy. Fair to say? All right. And then he says, "I will, babe, just let me get back from lunch." And you, at 1:43, you say, "Okay." At the next day, at 10:15 in the morning, you say, "Ross, question mark?"
It's 10:15 at night.
Sorry. You've got younger eyes looking at that than I do. 10:15 at night, you say, "Ross," and then you say, "Hey." And then he finally responds, a few minutes later, says, "Hey, Jaynie." And you say, "Hi." And he says, "What's up, babe?" All right, then if you'll pick it up there at 10:39. We're now on May the 29th.
I don't even know why I text you. Never mind.
And he says, "Why? I'm right here." And you say,
Because you honestly don't care anymore. You don't leave your phone on. You don't care.
and he says, "I do care. I care a lot. I really care about you, but I'm afraid you're going to leave again, or I'm going to F up you in Austin." And this is now at 10:41 in the evening, and this is May the 29th. So at that point in time, you and Austin are still together.
Yes.
Right. And you said, "Yeah." And then you tell Ross, "He officially owes me $1,000. See that? All right, this is all the same conversation the night of the 29th. And Ross says, $1,000? Why? Babe." You say, "What?" And he says, "Why does he owe you $1,000?" When I say $1,000, it's actually written there as a $sign and then 3 zeros, right?
Yes.
Okay. And then you make a reference to drugs, and I'm assuming you meant that your boyfriend was having some problems with drugs.
Yes.
And he says, "Jaynie, that is insane. Get your money back and leave, or just cut your losses and leave. That is bad, Jay." All right, now we're on to the 30th. May the 30th, 12:36. And you say, "Me, call me." I'm assuming you meant me. "Call me when you can." He says, "Okay, babe." And question mark. You see that?
Yes.
And then on May the 30th at 12:42, did it send you a picture?
Yes.
Can I see what it looks like?
This is May the 30th.
I'm sorry, May the 30th. What did I say?
24th.
That's May 30th. All right, and so he sent you a picture. And can you tell what that's a picture of?
It's a guy he's having lunch with.
Guy he's having lunch with?
Yes.
And he says, "Lunch." Right. And you say, "Yeah." And then at 1:36, you say, "Still waiting." Is that because he hadn't called you back?
I guess. I don't remember.
Okay. All right. Then on June the 2nd, he texts you morning, early in the morning, 9 minutes after 6. Okay. And then we get those signals. Well, actually, there's no messaging at all for about a week. You see that?
Yes.
All right. right, and that brings us up to June the 9th. And you agree that on June the 9th and June the 11th, it looks like there's a system message that says your phone has been disconnected.
Yes.
Is that right? And then he says on June the 11th, again, he says hi. And on the 13th, you respond back, hey. You see that?
Yes.
All right, so there's not a whole lot of, after he didn't call you back from lunch, there's not a whole lot of talking from May the 30th until June the 13th, when you say, hey. All right, so let's go on down. June the 13th, he says, hey, babe. You say, what's up? He says, busy as this at work. You say, have fun. He's like, hey, what's news with you? This is 2:38 in the afternoon. Ross says, what's news with you? You say, I'm working until Sunday, staying here at my boss. And were you doing some sort of in-home care, like a caregiver at that point? Is that the work you were doing?
Yes.
Okay. Continue here. All right. And then June the 13th, 2:46, Ross puts $, meaning, hey, you gotta make your money, right? Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And you say, it's nice to finally have money. And then we're now at the 13th, 2:49, and what is it you ask Ross then?
You hate me now.
You hate me now, question mark. And he says, babe, not at all, just miss you. You say, yeah. He says, did you even miss me? And you said, what did you say at 2:54 in the afternoon on the 13th?
If you ever turned your phone on, you would know I did.
What does he ask then?
How's Austin?
How's Austin? Okay. So this is on June the 13th, he's asking how Austin is. So you would agree that certainly if y'all been talking on the phone, he probably would know if you and Austin were still together, right? Is that fair to say?
I don't remember.
Okay. All right. And so what do you then tell Ross at 2:56 on June the 13th?
He keeps telling me I'm going to fall back in love with him.
And Ross says, are y'all still together? And you say,
I guess.
and then Ross says, you're still living with him? Question mark. And this is all the same conversation on June the 13th. What do you say now?
Well, when I do something that makes me happy or something bad happens, I don't want to call him. I don't want to tell him because all I feel like is a burden. And yes, mostly.
All right. And then he says, this is 2:59 on the 13th. He says, what grade did my paper get? What's he talking about there?
He helped me write a paper.
Helped you write paper. All right. You taking a class, where were you in school at the time?
Objection relevance.
This is actually part of the record. It's talking about, this is their evidence, they put it in.
Where she was in school at is not relevant to the text.
Allowed our objection.
Just appreciate that. If you don't want to answer that question, that's fine. We'll just move on, okay? And you say 100 probably. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. He says, LOL, I better have. You say, mm-hmm. And then now we're on the 13th at 3:12 in the afternoon. He says, rain, WTF. You say, mm-hmm. He says, you still taking summer classes? You say, heck, no. No. You say, he says, just working? And you say, if you could call me, that'd be great. Please. Ross, question mark. Okay. We're now on June the 13th at 6:39 in the afternoon. He says, I can't in a bit. I'm leaving the house at 7:45. I'm doing a moonlight ride tonight. You see that? And then what do you respond to him at 6:40?
I don't know what that is.
I don't know what that is. Right, and he tells you it's a midnight bike ride downtown. This is June 13th. And you say, oh, okay. All right, and now we're at June 13th at 11:56 p.m. And what do you text him? called on my way and it went straight to VM. Did you take that to me voicemail?
Yes.
Okay. All right, and now it's after midnight, in the early morning hours of June 14th, and you say what?
Okay.
Hmm?
Okay.
Yeah, right before that line.
That's not that night. That's 3:30 in the afternoon. The other one's 2:30 in the
Three-
morning.
On the 14th, June the 14th at 3:30 p.m.
I said you could have tried harder.
Okay, you could have tried harder. And you said, hey. And now he responds back on the 15th in the morning, early morning it looks like. Hey, doll, sorry I was out with friends. You say, yeah. He says, why are you awake? Or you aren't. Night, babe. And that next morning at, looks like 12:05, he says, hi. You say, hey. He says, what's up, babe? You say, folding clothes, you. He says, lunch. You say, fun. He says, I'm full. You say, mm-hmm. Now we're to the afternoon of the 15th, and he says, AC is out at my house. And he uses an expletive there. Then you send a picture. And you say, pigtails and AC. He says, no fair. He says, no, exclamation point. And he sends you a picture of him in, looks like shorts.
Couldn't tell you.
Okay. And he says, no pants dying. That's June the 15th. And you say, excuse me, he says on the 17th, he says, well, you're gone again. That makes me sad. And then on the morning of the 18th, about 5:46 in the morning, he sends you one line, just says, morning. Right?
Yes.
So what we've gone over there is basically the extent of the messaging that y'all had from May the 28th until the 18th, right?
Yes.
And Ross had told you previously on the phone that his marriage had been getting better the last couple of months.
I couldn't tell you that wholeheartedly.
Do you remember telling the police that?
Not right off the bat.
Okay. Do you think maybe if overnight tonight we had you listen to your interview with the police, that might help you remember if you said it or not?
I don't know.
You don't know if it might help you remember? Okay. It sounds like what we listened to there from the 28th until the June the 18th, sounds like y'all were kind of on the outs there, doesn't it?
Good kick.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Ross didn't know if you were still dating Austin. Ross didn't know if you were still living with him. He didn't know about any of those things, right? According to what we just read?
Just through text, yes. But that doesn't mean you didn't call every day.
Okay. Well, I mean, we just read through there. Are you now saying that he was calling every single day during that 3-week period?
I can't tell you every day now.
Okay. All right, you've indicated that Ross talked about Cooper all the time, right?
Yes.
All right. And you certainly agree that he worried about Cooper when he was sick,
Yes.
and he bragged on him,
Yes.
talking about how great he was. And you've indicated that Ross wanted to, do you remember sharing with everybody that there was a video from the little Halloween carnival at the daycare?
Yes.
And Ross sent you a copy of that?
Yes.
And you indicated that Ross wanted to be with Cooper for everything that he did. You indicated that Cooper was his life. Fair to say? And Mr. Boyd brought to your attention something about Cooper having a particularly bad poop, apparently, that was mentioned in this messaging. Other than complaining about having a poop, you never heard Ross say anything bad about Cooper ever, have you?
I mean, he might have gotten mad about having to stay home with him, but I mean, it was never like an angry. It was more just like an irritated.
Give me just 1 second, Judge. I think that's all I've got right now.
Redirect.
Just a second, all right, if I may.
Certainly.
Jaynie, I'm going to ask you if you can identify what's been marked for identification purposes. It states 416 and 417. 416 being a smaller picture of it, 417 being a kind of a larger picture of it. Do you recognize these?
Yes.
Okay, and what are those and where did you get them from?
There are messages between Ross and I. They were recovered off my old phone when I had to back it up to my computer, and I found them on my computer.
Okay, and are these kind of from that same group of stuff that you'd found, including the pictures we talked about previously?
Yes, for the most part, but these were saved under different type of files.
So that's something basically you'd screenshotted those texts between you and the defendant?
Yes.
Okay, and without knowing what the context of it, the jurors actually read that, or would it be very, very difficult to try to bank out what it's saying.
It'd probably be kind of difficult.
Do you know, and have you gone through and looked at it, and can you tell the jury what that actually says, knowing the context and knowing what you had said back then?
Yes.
Your Honor, I would tender State's Exhibit 416 and 417 at this time.
I object to it. It's not something that's readable, and apparently she's taken a pen and handwritten out to the side what she suspects or thinks it might say, but it's not legible this morning. I can't read it. I'm sorry.
And Judge, those copies have not been marked on, and this is based on her knowing what that says from the context of her experience and her memory of what they said back then. Okay. Oh, sorry.
That's kind of
That's
rude.
terrible.
And what I said was rude.
Oh, I didn't hear it, so didn't either.
In the context,
It counts.
in the context of what I said, it was not rude. Okay, I'm allowing these over objections. And you can proceed.
Thank you.
And you
Jaynie.
can say shove it to me.
I'm not gonna do that.
Thank you.
Jaynie, can you please tell the jury first of all, this text had been sometime before September 2013, just for context. We're not saying this is anything in May or anything like that, but it would have been sometime before September 2013.
When I hooked up my phone to the computer, it actually changed all of the dates to September 25th, I think it was, which is when I backed it up. So it had to have been before then.
Okay. And having gone through it, we tell the jury what the text message that you had received and screenshotted back. Well, first of all, did you screenshot text back then from time to time?
Yes.
Send to your friends and things like that?
Not really send to my friends, just keep.
Okay. And, okay, you can explain to the jury what the conversation was.
You want me to you want me to read it?
Yes.
Okay. So I don't know what the first one says for me, but afterwards from him it says, "It just made me realize how unhappy I can be sometimes. If he wasn't in the picture, I probably would have left Elle by now." And I said, "Left Elle?" And that's Leanna. And he said, "Yes." And I said, "Oh." And then I said, "But that isn't a reason to stay with someone, Ross." And then he said, "And then I started thinking about how much I actually like you. I know, but it's hard, Jaynie."
Now, Jaynie, you were asked some questions about some of those messages. Admittedly, you would get a bit testy with the defendant when he wouldn't automatically respond to your messages and your phone calls. Would
Yes.
would that be fair?
Yes.
Okay. Now, when you wouldn't, you're asking him if he wouldn't pick up immediately. Even though he wouldn't pick up immediately, would he eventually call you back sometimes?
Yes.
Okay.
All the time.
When you would talk on the phone sometimes, in addition to these messages back and forth, were there times where the defendant, when he'd get emotional talking about you and your relationship?
Yes.
And did this continue on in the months leading up until June of 2014?
Yes.
I know you said you called him on his, you would talk on his work phone, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and you called him numerous times, and that's reflected in the chats too, that you're trying to call him on that phone and things of that nature, right?
Yes.
Okay. So if you'd called that phone numerous times, there should be, if there's a call log of it, more than 2 phone calls between you two, right?
Yes.
Okay, and if there's not, obviously, things have been removed or deleted or not on that phone anymore, right?
Yes.
Call for speculation.
This time.
All right. And you texted him, Mr. Kilgore actually asked you questions about you having texted him on his work phone and things like that, correct?
Yes.
And so those would still be on the phone unless something else happened, correct?
Yes.
The defendant, I know he told you a lot, at least especially early on, about Cooper and how he loved him and things like that.
Yes.
Did he tell you when you were in this relationship that you were the only one?
Yes.
Did he tell you there were no other girls?
Yes.
Did he tell you during this relationship that this was real for him?
If it was what?
Real for him?
I'm going to object to the form
I'll rephrase this one, Judge. I think that's fair. With his conversations with you, did he express to you that this was just some fantasy thing, or that he truly, truly felt the way he was telling you?
Judge, I'm gonna object to the form of the question, but he's leaving.
Yes. Glasses on.
How did he tell you he felt?
He told me he loved me every day.
And Mr. Kilgore asked you about the fact that you were, I think he used the term best friends, right?
Yes.
How old were y'all when you met?
I was 18.
And he's helping you with papers and things like that?
Yes.
He gave you boyfriend advice?
Yes.
How old was he?
His 30s.
Did he have a wife?
Yes.
Did he have a kid?
Yes.
But he loved you and y'all were best friends?
Yes.
That's all I have.
Jaynie, y'all didn't have any plans to be together, did you?
I mean, he talked about it.
You never told the Cobb County Police Department or me or anybody from the district attorney's office that y'all had plans to be together, did you?
It's not like we formed a plan and planned it out now, but I mean, he talked about it.
When's the first time you told somebody that he talked about plans for y'all to be together? Was it today, right then?
I guess.
Okay. Well, the fact is, you're really upset with Ross because you found out that you weren't the only woman that he was texting with. Isn't that true?
Doesn't change what I'm saying now.
Okay.
Nothing further, Judge. May she be
I'm not
excused?
finished, Judge. I'm
Oh, I'm
sorry.
sorry.
You got it. I'm showing you what's been marked as Defense at 71. You know what that is, don't you?
Yes.
Okay. Is that a letter that you prepared for Ross and asked me to give to him?
Yes.
Okay. And you handed that to me or emailed it to me sometime after he was arrested?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to move 71.
No objection.
Okay. And in this letter, you very clearly tell Ross that you know from a very close stance how much you adored Cooper. Isn't that true?
Yes.
And that's because in the entire time that you knew him, during these long conversations over a long period of time that you're talking about, that is the only thing that he expressed regarding Cooper is how much he loved him and adored him and cared for him. Isn't that true?
I don't know how to answer that for every single conversation we ever had about Cooper. Ross got mad about Cooper, but it was never him being angry at him per se. It was more him being irritated for something happening.
Okay.
But I can't tell you it was always happy and fun and giggles and sunshine.
You never told the police that, did you?
About everything being sunshine and
That
giggles.
Ross got angry with Cooper, angry
No,
about
because
Cooper?
nobody asked.
You had 2 meetings with detectives. You had a meeting with the defense lawyers. You had a meeting with the district attorney's office, and nobody asked that question.
You never asked me if Ross ever got angry or anything else like that at Cooper.
Nobody asked you that?
Not that I
That's
can
your
recall.
testimony?
Not that I can recall right at this very second.
You're upset with me, aren't you?
No. What happens is terrible, but I'm just answering how, like, as truthfully as possible.
Okay. Thank you.
Nothing further. May she be excused?
Yes, you're free to go.
remind you of our prior conversation at this point.
Yeah, but I forgot it's coming up. You didn't make that good impression.
What's that, Judge?
It wasn't that impressive.
Yeah.
Now I remember. Nothing. We had discussed earlier that we would need to recess at this point. And we're not that far off the mark, so that's fine. Ladies and gentlemen, close your notepads, take them with you, leave them in your drill room overnight. Keep an open mind, do not discuss this matter with each other, anyone else, or permit anyone to speak with you about the case. No independent investigation. You know that everything that is pertinent to this case, permitted by law, will be presented to you in this courtroom. And that's where you need to receive the evidence upon which you can evaluate and deliberate in your jury deliberations. So with those instructions, I hope you have a lovely evening. See you at 8:30 in the morning.
That's all right. Let yourself calm down.
I'd like to have counsel at the end.
Please be seated.
What's wrong with that, Mr. President? A lot?
Over 2 years and I had that many recorded good combined.
You are correct.
No objection.
Everybody have a good evening.